name's Amal, and I go to Broadening school. My family work and pay taxes. They are British, and we are just as British as anyone else. So why should we have to go through abuse for the things that we believe in and our religious views? There have been so many incidences where my family and I, along with my friends, have been targeted for our beliefs. One particular incident that I will never forget happened to me when I was 13 years old and was walking home from school. There was a white man standing on the pavement, and he swore at me, then called me a hijabi. Due to the fact that Muslim women wear hijab, literally meaning to cover, we are more subject to violence as we often stand out more than Muslim men. And I think it's the media in Britain that fuels the Islamophobia which causes these attacks. The way the media writes about Muslims is leading to major misconceptions in the minds of the British public. We need to understand the detrimental effects that hate speech has on our minds because it forms dangerous stereotypes. For example, that all Muslims are terrorists. These misconceptions encourage hate crimes which are already rising in the UK. For example, in 2013, there were 557 hate crimes against Muslims, but this increased dramatically to 878 hate crimes in 2015. And also, there is less than 0.5% of journalists in the UK which are Muslims, which means that we are very underrepresented in the media. As a country, we take freedom of the press very seriously, so I understand that the media can publish what they want. However, they need to understand the effects that their articles have on the public. We have seen too much inflammatory and negative reporting in the media about Muslims. For example, a recent headline from the Daily Mail includes, Muslim gang jailed for kidnapping and raping 2 girls as part of their Eid celebration. And recent headlines from the Sun include, 1 in 5 Brit Muslims sympathy for jihadis. Both of these headlines are clearly misleading, and the latter was actually retracted publicly. What I want is for the editors of the Sun and the Daily Mail to meet with a group of young British Muslims to discuss the devastating impact of these types of headlines. I will personally visit schools and mosques to raise this issue and get hundreds of letters to these editors supporting my request for a meeting. What I would love from you is to bring the matter to the attention of your party and to encourage your colleagues to also engage in writing letters to the editors of the Sun and Daily Mail on the negative impact that their reporting has on Muslims in this country. Hopefully, after a meeting with the editors, they will speak more sensitively when they write about Muslims. Without a major step in addressing this issue, no change will be made, and innocent Muslims, like my family and me, will continue to be harassed on our streets. I am very grateful for your time, and I hope that we can work together to tackle this problem.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth, and today I'm going to talk to you about the time I was told I'd never go to Cambridge. As a Latino growing up in London, my mother had to work long hours to make money to put food on our table and buy my school uniform. From the age of 4 or 5, she'd go out at night to work and have to leave me on my own. I had to become dependent and rely on myself to do my homework and put myself to sleep. It was hard, but I admire that she chose to go to work to provide for me as a Latino single mother. My mom always told me that money or no money, if you work hard for the things you love, you will achieve them. And when you make it, you can experience the joy of trying, having never given up. When I told my mother and father I wanted to go to Cambridge, they were proud of me. They had big grins on their faces and supported me 100%. But when the time came around for me to have a meeting at school about my future choices, my head of year looked me in the eyes and said, let's be real, you're not going to Cambridge. People don't expect much of the Latino students in Lambeth. We're not given support to go to university. The expectations is that we'll get average GCSE grade, get through year 11 and eventually drop out, and find jobs in retail or as cleaners, waitresses or bartenders. In America, many studies have been done on the impact low expectations have on Latino students. But I don't see the concern here that I see in America. Even though from my own experience, I can see that fewer Latino students in my year go on to A-levels or further education. When I was told you're not going to Cambridge, there was no space for hope. I felt like the dream I had been taken away. It was like wiping a whiteboard. There was just no expectation that I'd go on to achieve. It made me feel pretty stupid for even trying to aim that high. I know that I am a hardworking student, and I have been brought up surrounded by my mother's determination and perseverance, but that's not what was expected of my school. I'd like the expectations of Latino students to be high, that we can get A stars at GCSEs, we can go to sixth form and get A's, we can go to university and we can get great jobs that we actually love and want. This isn't going to be easy. I'm going to need to speak to my school senior leadership and persuade them that they are underestimating us. I need to make the case that Latino students in particular need more support to help us into higher education. Many Latino students and our parents don't have the knowledge of the British university system, and those of us whose parents work long hours need more help preparing for higher education. There are a lot of challenges, but the first step is realizing that higher aspirations are possible. I want to see a different dynamic for Latino students in my school. I want to open the eyes of the teachers and other people who dismissed my ambitions. That's why the first thing I want to do is put on a festival of Latino culture, to showcase inspirational Latino role models. When I was writing this speech, I struggled to think of a successful Latino role model. I want my classmates to see that we can make it. I'm going to have to roll up my sleeves and organize a festival, to show everyone just how much Latino students can achieve. So I guess what I'm asking of you, Helen Hayes, is to show your support. If I can go to the meeting with my head teacher and say I've got the backing of my MP, and maybe you'll even make a speech at the Latino festival, I'll be making a strong case. I'm asking you to show that you believe students like me can go on to great places like Cambridge and beyond. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Johnny, and on October 29th, I will turn 18. And at this crucial point of my life, I can vote, I can legally drink, and overnight, I can become financially devastated. Now that might seem dramatic, but for someone my age, living in South London, it is true. All of a sudden, I will be able to apply to Wonga, borrow tens of thousands of pounds in student loans, and spend thousands of pounds on a credit card. Here's a more personal example. I want a sound system, not an unreasonable one for a teenager. Unfortunately, like most teenagers, I don't have hundreds of pounds available up front, despite me working twice a week at River Island. So here are my options. I could borrow money from a friend, who'd of course laugh in my face at my demand for £700. I could then maybe ask the bank of mum, but unfortunately I've exhausted that option. So, finally, I'll end up turning to rent-to-own companies like Bright House as an option. So of course, their deals will be enticing. Seeing this dream sound system for just £8.50 a week from Bright House, I will totally overlook the small print telling me that the annual fixed interest rate is 69.9%, more than doubling the price. And imagine, this is just about a stereo. What about when I take out a deposit to rent out a flat? What about when I fail to pay a tax I don't understand? And what about when I have a family who I did not financially care for? And it's not just about my limited knowledge. It's about my communities. This is conveyed through the fact that in 2012, Croydon had the highest demand for debt help in London. Croydon is also simultaneously the debt worry capital of the UK, with more people seeking money help there than anywhere else. And most worryingly, for under 24s, their level of personal debt is rising faster than any other age group. Now it happens that I know what APR means, but that's no thanks to my school, and that is no thanks to my education system. The only way I did find out was from a Google search, and to be frank, I'm still not entirely sure. And that is my issue. This mountain of debt that young Londoners face is down to a number of reasons, be it student loans, leasing, or high rent. We need to address all of these financial problems, but in the meantime, if we are forcing people to take on loads of debt, then they should at least know how to manage it. And this can be achieved through education. Ultimately, I want the Department of Education South London and other infamous monuments. I'm inspired to do this by the city lessons in 1950s America schools, which showed visually that black and white students could learn together. In 21st century London, I want to show that teenagers can learn how to manage their money direct from the experts. I would like for you and my MP, Steve Reed, to support my sittings by attending them, as well as supporting me to lobby the government to implement these lessons. No 18-year-old should take out a loan without knowing the consequences, and together we can make financial education a key part of our curriculum.
Hi Helen, I'm Darren, it's really good seeing you again. I'm here to talk about stereotypes, unpaid internships, and how they can limit opportunities. What is the pursuit of happiness? For many people, it is about getting money and a car. For me, it's a more equal society and getting a good job. But some people find it easier than others, and I'm here to talk about stereotypes and how they can limit opportunities. When I was around 5, my mum suffered from drug abuse. I hung out in community centres to get away from this. I stayed out way past midnight sometimes. There was a gang there that would give me money for chicken and chips. One night, there was a group of people who saw me with them, and they called me a stupid child and a criminal. They didn't know my circumstances. They didn't know if I was stupid if I did well at school. They just labelled me based on what they saw. Just because I was wearing a tracksuit and hanging out with friends, they thought I was a criminal. This made me angry. I could have risen to it and dropped my aspirations, but I was determined to defy the expectation of me, and I worked hard at school, and I've done so ever since. But to really prove them wrong, I needed an opportunity to get a job in a good industry. When I started looking for jobs, I found out about unpaid internships, and I thought, how can I do this and afford to live at the same time? This made me realize you can have the same qualifications as someone else, but who your parents are determines the opportunities you get. Internships are a perfect example of opportunities open to people from wealthy backgrounds and not to others. Top companies and top jobs are only open to people that can afford it. In Britain, a third of people who leave university go into unpaid internships. In total, there are 21,000 unpaid internships. To survive an unpaid intern, the Sutton Trust says you need £800 to £1,000 per month in savings. From Moreland to State, I don't know anyone who can do this. This means areas like law, politics and media, especially in London and Lambeth, are very difficult to get into, which means many people are locked out of those areas and no longer have aspirations for the best jobs. I want to see an end to unpaid internships across the UK, so we can have a more diverse workforce, which means I'm asking you, Helen, to start this in Lambeth. We want you to identify 5 large companies in Lambeth and persuade them to create new paid internships, which are targeted at local people. My final ask, I will campaign in schools and colleges in Lambeth to tell people about the new job offers available and motivate them to apply. My final ask is that you secure a debate in Parliament on stopping unpaid internships in the UK. Together, this means we will have a more diverse workforce. More diversity means more opportunities for people from different backgrounds to realise their potential. This leads to a more equal and higher quality workforce, which means people can fight stereotypes and can pursue their happiness. Thank you for listening.
My name is Caitlin Price. I live in Streatham Hill and I'm a student at Dunraven Sixth Form. Every morning I walk into my school and I see the school motto, excellence for all, and I think, for all? Within my sixth form, so many people have different dreams, but their career aspirations are being limited. A small group who've been categorised early on are targeting with support to apply to Oxbridge, but all other students, including myself, feel disregarded. It's frustrating, it's upsetting. People feel that they're being forced into a future they're not passionate about to fit in with the school's targets. I watch students in my school fail to take opportunities because they don't even know what jobs they could do with the subjects they love or are brilliant at. They don't know what's out there, from apprenticeships to creative opportunities. People don't see themselves as important enough to strive for different, interesting careers. condition the school is in. They're under pressure to achieve targets. It's difficult to cater to each student's needs. But every student is important. Ranking the students on how narrow statistics on university entrance will reflect on the school makes us feel like we're in a factory. So why is this important? According to the Sutton Trust, low social mobility and lack of educational opportunity is arguably the biggest social challenge of our time. My school gives support to students who have been targeted for Oxbridge, but only has the money, time and educational culture to give intense help to a small group, as if that's the only goal that matters. But in private schools, all pupils are supported. Students in independent schools are likely to get into universities with 2 grades lower than students in state schools. Privileged students are able to take chances and go into creative careers. For example, the London School of Economics recently reported that only 27% of actors come from a working class background. Having a dream isn't just about the individual. Being able to raise your aspirations and imagine an exciting life for yourself prepares you for the economy of the future. 65% of students will be employed in jobs that don't even exist yet. Maybe if our educational culture focused more on passions than results, British childhood would be very different. A 2015 Children's Society report showed that children in England are among the unhappiest in the world. Imagine if we could change this. Imagine if South London schools led the way. I know this issue is big, but there are ways it can be tackled. An American organisation called the Future Project agrees that we are in danger of young people growing up hopeless and disengaged, without the aspirations or skills that they need to lead in the 21st century. They work in inner city schools and bring dream directors into them to help students lead projects based on their genuine passions. Imagine a UK where we could deliver this kind of inspiration into schools, not just to the small groups marked up for Oxbridge, but for everyone. So what am I going to do about this? I'm going to set up a dream day in my school. I want every student to get a chance to articulate their dream. I will reach out to people with different career backgrounds, from vocational careers and apprenticeships to jobs in the arts to universities that specialise in unusual subjects, to inspire everyone in my school, not just some. I know I'm not the only one who feels this way, and so I'll organise a petition within my sixth form to call for a meeting with my school governors to get their support. Helen, I want you to be a part of this effort with me. As a representative from South London, I know you care about the aspirations of your constituents. If my event is successful, will you build on my campaign and host an event about aspiration in the House of Commons? I'm planning to open my contact book. Will you open yours? I would love to see South London sixth forms coming to Parliament and meeting people from a diverse range of careers. This would make people in my school feel like their aspirations are worthwhile, like they matter. Thank you in advance for your help to change the culture of education in our country.
Majali Wilson, Nathan Murray, David Darker. These are some of the names of local people who lost their lives due to youth violence in the last year. My name is Samantha, and youth violence is a personal issue for me because I have a brother. I have a brother who is at risk of being affiliated with gangs. I have a brother who is seen as a target by gangs because he is young and black. I have a brother who has been chased down by gangs, carrying knives, and he can't stay after dark for fear of violence. I have a 15-year-old brother whose name I don't want to be on that list. I know people who have lost their lives to gang violence, and it hurts me deeply. And I am sick and tired of young people dying due to mindless violence and the government doing nothing about it. Last year in London, 70 young people lost their lives to youth violence. Many of these will have been associated with gangs. A recent London study found that 98% of gangs members are male, and almost 78% of people identify as black or from minority ethnic communities. All 3 of the young people I named earlier were young, black men who didn't deserve to die. It is not enough to ignore this problem. We need to do something, and we need to do something now. Speaking to my peers, The place that they feel the safest, most accepted, and understood is at their barbers. A recent study showed that Britain ranked their barbers as more trustworthy than both the police and the clergy. Interestingly, they trust them over 3 times more than the government or politicians generally. For Black communities, this is likely to be much higher. We know that for Black men, barbers are so much more than a place to get their hair cut. A friend of mine said he would tell his barber anything. He sees his barber as a father figure in his life. And it's a place where he can feel equal and be himself. Barbershops are the center of the community for Black men. I know that there are the people who can help put a stop to youth violence in my community. So this is why I ask of you. Will you ask my MP, Steve Reed, to invite the barbers of his community to a round table to address youth violence in my area? I need Steve to listen to the people who are in the position to influence young men and who are ready to help. I will approach local barbers and hairdressers, as well as young people who are affected by this cause, to come to this round table. We are all sick and tired of this, but together, we can make society a safer place for young people. What I ask of you is to help me. Help me protect my brother. Help those mothers who risk losing their sons through violence. Help me end youth violence.
Growing up in a council estate, I've seen many people end up at a crossroad and choose a path of crime rather than a path of success. I've watched people around me get involved in crime like my dad and my neighbour. I remember when the police came to arrest my neighbour in the middle of the night. But why hasn't that happened to me? What is a factor that makes me different from them? The answer? I had a positive role. I imagine you are only surrounded by people who commit crime or who are trapped in the cycle of poverty and do not seek to escape. Your life could be turned around by meeting someone who sets a different example and believes that you can too. They can support you when making critical choices like saying no to gangs. What if my neighbour had a mentor? He might have been prevented from committing a crime much earlier in his life. He could have lived a life of prosperity and made a positive contribution to the community. Young people in Lambeth can still have that opportunity. I believe that among my other young adults from Lambeth, can help secondary and primary school students find an alternative path by becoming their mentors. A positive role model can make sure that when you reach your crossroad, you choose the right path. That's why I believe every disadvantaged child should have a mentor. There's no better place to start than London. London has a growing youth population, and the amount of support and help they receive will help shape our local communities. So why not take the opportunity to shape London's future generations? Not only is mentoring beneficial for the young people being mentored, but it also helps build community cohesion and allow the mentor to positively impact someone's life. Research has shown that young people who have mentors are more likely to attend college or university. It's also shown that people who are mentored have someone to confide in and trust outside of their parents and teachers. Mentoring already happens at Lillian Hayes School, so why isn't it happening across Lambeth? It can happen. We can make it happen. I'm asking for your backing as my local MP to start a trial mentoring scheme where my friends and I support younger people than us. Just an hour a week could have a big impact on a child's future. If I'm successful, I'd want you to advocate this model across our borough and engage people like me to become mentors, helping reduce crime and increase aspirations. Together, we can give young people the future they deserve. Thank you for listening, and I know that we can be a part of solving this problem together.
Hi Ellen, my name is Brittany and I live in Brixton Hill. It's a Tuesday afternoon in April. I'm in my apartment alone
was a toddler, I couch surfed with my father as he struggled to find an affordable place for us to live. When I was 12, I remember having to enter my house through the back door to avoid the bailiffs chasing my parents for rent. On some days, we relied on a £5 budget to feed my whole family. Now having been forced to move out of my family home, I'm finding it difficult to adapt to life as an adult. And all the responsibilities that come with it, like signing papers and finding a job. In all of these experiences, one thing has remained. The feeling of being unable to lead a normal life. Now with your help, I want to empower others like me with the tools to be strong, independent individuals. At the moment in London, there are many forces working against young people. The housing crisis means that affordable housing is becoming increasingly rare. We have an aging population and a voting system where young people have the lowest turnout at elections compared to other age groups. And young people of 16 and 17 with strong opinions, like me, are not given the option to vote. The media portrays young people as irresponsible teens who get up to no good. The problem is that the education system in this country does not equip us with the essential practical tools we need to survive in the face of these opposing forces. Young people like me in the borough of Lambeth have to deal with these issues, and it is unfair and that we are not being taught to adapt. I believe we need an intervention in our schools teaching real-world skills and how we can make a change in our society. This is why I am proposing to bring a day of activities and workshops to my school, Bishop Thomas Grant in Streatham. I want to call this day Independence Day. Independence Day will be a day for sixth form students to engage with 5 topical issues and learn from guest speakers about how to tackle them directly. I would like you, Helen Hayes, MP, to be an ambassador for the program by helping to introduce it and also leading a workshop relating to politics and voting. The 4 other issues will be housing, budgeting and finance, understanding the media, and health and fitness. If it is successful, I will ask you to write to other schools to encourage them to put on their own Independence Days. And I look forward to making that happen. With support from yourself and other influential local figures, we can highlight the importance of a more practical education system and help young people of South London become more confident, aware, and independent citizens. Thank you.
She went into depth explaining that she suffered verbal and physical abuse and was then taken into an alleyway. I sat there and I listened, feeling sick that someone so close to me had been threatened and degraded on the streets so close to where I lived. I could see the trauma of this event had sucked the life out of them and would be the start and was the start of a number of issues that followed. I personally have never been subject to physical abuse, but have been targeted and objectified by men in the streets around Brixton. The catcalling culture is key, labelling girls based upon their dress sense and their body, and making girls feel incredibly threatened and uncomfortable when walking around the streets when I have as much right to walk on those streets as they do.
I was on my way home from a friend's house when an older man in his late 20s approached me on the street. He made casual conversation until he turned around and asked for my age. I was 15 and I told him so. He then asked for my phone number. I said no. He decided to ask again, ignoring my rejection and ignoring my age. Again, I said no. I was eventually able to walk away from this man, but his continuous attempt at
2014 to May 2016, in London alone, there were 5,225 cases of rape. From May 2015 to May 2016, there were 5,723 cases of rape. That's 9.5% of an increase. The real issue is that rape culture and the violence, physical and verbal, and the objectification of women is filtered down even to the most basic daily parts of life. Catcalling, which now seems so normal on the streets around where I live. Just to give some context, there's just a general acceptance that for me to walk down Electric Lane in Brixton, I'm entering a zone where I'm exposed to derogatory and sexual comments for men. It's accepted and it's expected. It is a general acceptance that one of these things worries me. I feel that girls and women have become immune to these comments, and it's just not right.
It is so sad that the way we dress or the way we act is likely to impact the potential for rape and the potential for victim blaming. Victim blaming has become a part of normal thinking. The Office for National Statistics published research in 2015 which showed more than a third of interviews insisted victims of sexual attack were partially responsible, as if they'd been flirting heavily before. Victim blaming enables people to wash their hands of the issues and perceive these actions as just the way it's supposed to be. It takes away the responsibility from it. It means we stop thinking about how a man chose to rape a woman. It's not right.
All rape and sexual assaults are wrong, and it should not be an issue that we as young people have to live in fear of. The catcalling culture is part of a big culture that makes women and girls like ourselves feel unsafe on the streets. This is not acceptable. Women and girls have much entitlement to walk on these streets just as anyone else. Helen, this is a big issue, and we want to be serious, and we are serious about fixing it. We have a few things that we want you to be part of. A slut walk refers to a movement of protest which calls to an end of rape culture and the objectification of women. We want to contact local MPs and you and ask for publicity to support the slut walk in London. Additionally, we would love for you to join the London slut walk.
Ultimately, Helen, we want better education. I'm going to get support from student bodies from 3 secondary schools in Yorkshire that want to learn about teaching consent in PSHE. I'm going to contact charities that teach about consent and get a commitment from them to come into the schools. I want your help, Helen, to contact my MP, Siobhan McDonough, so I can set up a meeting with her to convince head teachers in these 3 schools to allocate a full school assembly to one of these charities every year. I also would love for you to contact Justin Green and discuss making teaching consent in PSHE national curriculum clearer, explicit, and manageable.
I want to run a program which will entail learning about the use of derogatory language and catcalling. Also, the importance of girls and boys not using these derogatory terms, and also to bring awareness of slut shaming. Thank you for listening to us and for giving us the opportunity to present our campaign to you.
And thank you to the Advocacy Academy too for helping us put our campaign into words.
When I look at you, I see myself, a white female. I also see people just like you when I'm watching the news and reading my history books. This gives me the ability to not only think I could achieve what you have, but for it to actually be a genuine possibility. When I was learning history at school, I wasn't only taught it was white people who enslaved black people, I was also taught it was white people who saved black people. They were the heroes of the story. Even when we teach black history, we're doing it from a white perspective. You may ask why I'm not here talking about this. As a white person, I'm privileged. But that doesn't make you blind to other people's struggles. I recognise that the opposite of privilege is disadvantage. The opposite of privilege is alienation. The opposite of privilege is suppression of thousands of people's dreams and hopes of what they might achieve. And my privilege demands that I do something. Having been a resident of Lambeth for over 20 years, you know that 60% of Lambeth's population are not white. The problem is even more pronounced in our schools. The Department for Education noted that in Lambeth, 84.8% of school students were non-white British. And in my school, we didn't even recognise Black History Month. Helen, my life and your life is easier because we are white. When we disenfranchise such a big percentage of Lambeth's population, we do ourselves now. We limit our borough's potential. On your website, it says that you will campaign for more opportunities for young people, and that the strength of Lambeth is our diverse and active communities. I want to unleash and celebrate differences in our community, and I have an exciting idea which I would love you to help me with. I want to hold a groundbreaking event aimed at young people. There are things like the carnival at Notting Hill, and there was a splash in Brixton. But however, none of these things were aimed at young people, and none of these specifically created safe spaces for young people to engage with these issues. The event will focus on a celebration of cultures attended by 3 local schools. There will be food, music, speakers, all aimed to educate and empower local young people, and also to have fun. Young people will tell the stories that are not shown in our history books, see the role models that are not so easy to see when you look to Parliament or the media. I will take the role of overall organisation, creating an events team, inviting brilliant speakers, and handling the logistics. Will you attend a meeting with me at Elm Green, lending support to my idea, and will you open the event as a keynote speaker? Helen, I see myself in you, but I want more people to be able to see themselves in the people that have power. I want more cultures to be celebrated in the way that I feel that my heritage is. Strength in diversity can only be realised when differences are embraced. Thank you for your time.
My name is Azar Nazir. When you look at me, you probably wouldn't think I was homeless. Maybe you would believe me if I was wearing this. For some, this might be humorous, which is understandable, but there is a bigger picture here. This bin bag represents the treatment of homeless people who are disregarded and forgotten. I am here to speak on behalf of those homeless people who will never be given the opportunity to speak for themselves. By taking you through my journey of facing homelessness, my family are Ahmadi Muslims from Pakistan, where people like me can be illegally persecuted for practicing our beliefs. My dad had a crockery shop in the city of Bukhara, which was doing really well until we became a target of hate. My dad's shop was burned down by people who worked nearby. He lost our only source of income, which led to us becoming potentially homeless. As a 7-year-old, I understood how extreme our circumstances were when the only thing we had to eat at the dinner table was crushed green chilies with bread, and my parents would eat less so we had enough. My dad did try to start a new business after that, but the new shop was also robbed, and we started receiving death threats. We therefore moved to the United Kingdom to start afresh. Although at the time we had a lot of family around us, they weren't necessarily willing or able to give us any support. They didn't know what to say or do. Our hard times caused distance, and we were isolated at the hardest time of our lives. This shift of behavior, unfortunately, is very common because of the stigma attached to homelessness. Shocking statistics show just how badly society treats homeless people, particularly those sleeping well. 2/3 of rough sleepers in London say they have been insulted by a member of the public. 1 in 10 say they have been urinated. Why do we think this is acceptable? To treat people this way just because they don't have a home? I believe the first step in breaking this stigma is to break down the social barriers that exist between homeless people and those of us that do have homes. To do this, I will arrange a sleep out where myself and my fellow advocates will sleep out on the street one night, alongside homeless people in our area. I will work closely with homeless charities to organize an event to find homeless people who are willing and are able to share their stories. I will host assemblies at the schools of my fellow advocates using my story to raise awareness and recruit more people for the sleep out. My hope is that young people in my area will interact with homeless people
Honestly, I thought she was still living in the 80s. Turns out, she wasn't completely wrong. According to the Department of Education, 54% of students receiving free school meals did not obtain more than 5 A to C grades at GCSE. In my school, I see wasted talent and I see my friends giving up. Only my more privileged peers are being told they can apply to Ross Group universities. It's like the rest of us are being swept under the carpet. We want to achieve, we can achieve, and we will achieve. But we cannot do this on our own. Schools aren't working for us. The statistics clearly show this. That's why I'm calling for free tutoring groups for young people from underprivileged backgrounds. Tutoring works. Numerous studies show that tutoring has a positive impact on academic performance across a range of abilities. I know tutoring is expensive. Tutoring company Puma, for example, is £85 a month just for 4 hours of tutoring. My mum worked part-time at Sainsbury's. She had to cut her hours just to look after my brother and I. My friends and family can't afford those prices. I'm going to work with my friends to pressure my school to provide free after-school group tutoring and support for low-income students for 2 hours a week. Today, Helen, I'm calling on you to help me convince my school, SFX, and those in my constituency of Wimbledon to help young people like me fulfill our potential. Please ask Stephen Hammond and Jane Ellison to write to all schools in their constituency requesting they pledge to implement these tutoring groups. Now, I've heard after recent events we've got a few £100 million extra to spend, so I think that should come in us. But on the off chance that it doesn't, I'm ready to devise plans to reach out to charities such as Team Up and Access to the Access Products to help provide tutors. This would lead to more successful young people, parents being able to work knowing their children in a safe educational environment, and schools achieving better results. Young people like me are being failed. I want to change that. As a society, we need to change that. Helen, I want to prove my mum's completely wrong. Please help me give every young person in South London the opportunities they desire.
Hi, my name is Sam, and I'm here to fight one of the leading causes of mental health issues, body dysmorphia. I'm running a campaign which will begin by taking over local bus stops with positive messaging targeting young men, as well as holding an event at my local leisure centre, which I would like you and my local MP to attend. 4 out of 5 suicides are men. Suicide is the biggest killer of men under 45. It's bigger than cancer and it's bigger than heart disease. So why is body dysmorphia important? It's estimated that 1 in 100 men in the UK suffer with body dysmorphia disorder, which is an anxiety disorder which distorts an individual's view of themselves. That could be as high as 320,000 men. A recent survey by BDD Foundation showed that 25% of all participants with BDD said that they had attempted suicide in the past. Men are bombarded with images of what their body should look like, whether that's through traditional forms of media, whether that's TV, magazines or sports, but also from our peers and through social media. This is an issue facing us all regardless of gender. In the UK, huge brands such as Dove are championing campaigns to normalise what the typical view of the female body should be. But I do not think that this conversation is happening for men. As a young male interested in sports, I am constantly shown images of muscular men in the media and in sports that I love. Constantly being shown images of bodies that are unnatural, unobtainable, and even unhealthy has led me to experience a real lack of confidence in my own body. I feel as though I am not as good as other people, purely because my body is not as defined as theirs, or my muscles not as big as theirs. And I am not the only one that experiences this. I am one of many, and that is wrong. This is an issue caused by a hyper-masculine culture and perpetuated by the media. And I want to use the media, the thing that is driving this problem, to help solve it. I'm going to create a poster which promotes a more healthy and natural male body. I would like to install these at 2 bus stops will include a whole host of local businesses, as well as concluding in a comical and light-hearted catwalk which promotes what a real and natural male body looks like. This will begin as a localized campaign, but there is no reason why this cannot spread through social media and become a nationwide campaign. I will start my campaign in spring, where people become more body conscious. Now, how am I going to do this? This is where I need your help. I will need to use your power as an MP to help secure the 2 bus stop sites from Lambeth Council, the Greater London Authority, or Transport for London, as well as helping me to find sponsors who can help subsidise the cost of the creation of these posters, and finally for you and my local MP to attend this event, showing your support in order to raise its profile and increase local press coverage. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today, and I hope that we can work together to help start this crucial conversation.
My name is Thalia. I live in Streatham, and today I'm speaking to you as a young person who cares about and is engaged in politics. To some, this may seem like an oxymoron, but it shouldn't. The last 3 general elections have not voted well for young people. The 18 to 24 demographic has consistently produced the lowest turnout with an average of only 40%. However, this does not mean that we don't care. When I look at the turnout of the Scottish and EU referendums, figures show that many more young people took to the ballot box in comparison. 68% of 16 to 24-year-olds turned out to vote in the Scottish referendum, and 64% of 18 to 24-year-olds voted last month. In other words, young people are waiting to be engaged in politics. However, given how we voted, the referendum result risks demotivating a section of society that desperately needs to be included. This is particularly personal to me. Although I was unable to vote in the EU referendum, its result has had serious implications for my family. As small business owners that commute to Calais every 2 weeks, my parents rely on freedom of movement to support us. Brexit poses a very real risk to our livelihood. Even if a trade agreement was negotiated, even if sterling manages to recuperate, even if we maintain freedom of movement, my family may still end up being forced to make a choice between absorbing the financial implications of economic uncertainty or giving up and selling their business. My parents have no idea what to do, and watching them go through this just makes me want to give up. There's so much out of our control. But I don't believe in giving up. I will take what, for me, was a negative outcome and turn it into a positive by tackling the level of political education available to young people in my community. Because I believe it was the lack of political education that led to this impulsive decision based on false information. I want to blame the people who voted Leave, but I can't. They were better informed about Pythagoras' theorem. It's essential that we tap into the energy that my generation demonstrated and channel it in a powerful way. I intend to do this by setting up a politics society in Streatham, which, if successful, has the potential to spread to the whole of Lambeth. My aim for the society is to increase the level of political engagement amongst young people by creating a dynamic outlet for debate and political thought. Furthermore, this would enable us to understand the big issues of the day, how they apply directly to us, and what we can and or should do about them. It is my belief that the problems within our political system need to be addressed at a grassroots level rather than solely changing it from the top down. This in turn will help to dispel the myth amongst young people that politics is out of their reach and inspire them to take control. But why am I here today? I want to ask you to pledge to support my local politics society, and to do so in the following ways. The first is to attend the opening session as a speaker, as well as aiding me in getting in touch with my local MP, Chaka Amuna, so that he can do the same at a subsequent event. The second is helping me to invite 2 additional speakers, people like you and Chaka, who can serve as role models to me and my generation. And the third is publicising the event that you attend by featuring in an article in the local press. I'm committed to recruiting students from my school as well as others, securing a venue and publicising the event. I'm standing here today as a young, engaged and passionate future voter. I believe my society will create real change within our local community and inspire others in the same way. A young, politically engaged person is not an oxymoron, and with your help, we can go a long way towards dispelling such a dangerous myth.
Good afternoon, Helen Hayes. My name is Erica De Silva.
and more specifically secondary school, I experienced the total opposite. It started in year 10 when my school secured a handful of work experience placements. However, very few, if any, immigrant children got selected. Negative feelings towards immigrant students continued throughout my time at school, and even when I was picking AS levels, one of my teachers told me to be realistic and disregarded my desire to go to a top university. He dismissed my ambition. I felt completely condescended. Every year, millions of immigrants arrive in the UK and thousands of new teachers join the profession. The University of Oxford's Migration Observatory found that London has the greatest number of migrants in the country. 3 million foreign-born people arrived in the UK in 2014. The government's National College for Teaching and Leadership stated in their 2014 annual survey that every year approximately 40,000 new teachers join the school workforce. And finally, Teach First, the largest recruiter of graduates in the UK, employed 1,685 new teachers in 2015. I want to change the perceptions of immigrant children, specifically those between the ages of 12 and 16, because that's when school can have the most devastating impact. I plan to tackle the perceptions that children have of themselves and the attitudes of those in power, where the children spend most of their time, in this case their teachers. I think that teachers don't get that children feel completely misunderstood. Educating their teachers about the challenges migrant students face is my passion, and I would like this to be implemented in all teacher training. In consultation with my friends and others in the local area, I plan on writing the 10 rules for teaching migrant children. This will be a guide for teachers on how to engage with migrant children and include rules like always assume migrant children want to thrive and participate in their education. Do not let language be a barrier. My time at the Advocacy Academy has taught me that in order to truly understand the issue, it's very important that teachers hear their stories of the migrant children firsthand. Only we have been through it. I would like to ask you, Ellen Hayes, my local MP, for your help in co-writing and signing 2 letters. One letter is to ask to speak to the Lambeth Schools Forum on the topic of adding information to teacher training days about working with migrant children. The second is to Brett Rigdort, the CEO of Teach First, to ask to speak at their summer institute. I believe that it would be very beneficial if I could give these new teachers an insight on how to get the best out of migrant children. I think that speaking to these 2 groups of educators could have a fundamental impact on how welcome migrant children feel in our education system. I will do my best to ensure that those younger than me have a better experience than I did. I would really appreciate your support. Thank you for listening and thank you for your time.
Hi, Ellen. My name is Ashley. I was once harassed whilst I was with my 2 little sisters on our way home from church. A man in his mid-30s had the audacity to repeatedly shout inappropriate things at me to get my attention, which obviously scared my sisters as well as me. I felt helpless. I could not protect my sisters from feeling the fear that they felt. This makes me apprehensive about how they and other young girls will be treated in the future. I hate that I am made to feel like an object because of my gender. And I'm angry that I cannot be treated with respect. Walking down the street is such a simple act, yet girls experience sexual harassment like this on a daily basis. Progress has been made, but thousands of women have experienced similar or even worse situations in life. How can we let that happen? Now that you have heard my personal story, let's look at the bigger picture of gender inequality in one of its most destructive forms. Between 2010 and 2011, in London, there were almost 5,000 calls to the police for domestic violence. 81% of the victims were women. Yet people are unaware that the mistreatment of women in domestic and public places is common. As long as people remain uninformed, this abusive treatment will not stop. Therefore, by delivering education 2010 and again in 2013, the Mayor of London launched a strategy to tackle violence against women and girls. It was called The Way Forward. One key aspect was the focus on prevention to create a culture based on equal rights and respect. Both the Way Forward strategy and the Land of Violence Against Women and Girls strategy acknowledge the need to prevent mistreatment of women from happening in the first place. In my opinion, this culture can be built by educating the younger generation on gender equality. So today, I am here to ask you to table a parliamentary question for the Secretary of State for Education, demanding to know why gender issues aren't a compulsory part of the PSHE curriculum, given that rape, sexualization of women, and abuse are such prevalent issues in today's society. PSHE lessons focus on issues within society which have a significant impact on our generation. Other social issues such as gang violence, drug abuse, are usually taught in the PSHE curriculum. And yes, these are serious issues, but the abusive treatment of girls and women is no less serious and therefore should be compulsory in the PSHE lessons. Yes, I am a feminist and I demand change.
Hello Helen, I'm Celine and I'm from Streatham Hill. And as a young Latino woman, I have been taught that my culture is incredibly important and integral to who I am. Growing up, I have always identified incredibly strongly with my Latino heritage, despite being born and raised in London. Going to a multicultural school in Balham meant that many of my friends were also Latinas, some from smaller but beautiful countries such as Ecuador, others from big, vibrant countries such as Brazil. Our culture was something that united us. Speaking about our different traditional foods or dances created a strong bond between us. However, this diverse bubble has not always protected me from society's views of ethnic minorities. Last summer, when my mum and I were getting the 57 bus to make our way home, an older man pushed past us and sneered, "You can't get on because you're not first class." I was speechless. However, the look on my mother's face was one of acceptance, and we did not make an effort to step onto the bus. When I realized that not everyone appreciated my culture, I felt disheartened, but I also felt empowered. I felt like I wanted to make a change. That is why I am standing here today and speaking to you about the lack of visibility and the unspoken challenges that Latinos face. The invisible community is a term that has been used to describe the UK's Latino community. It is rapidly growing, and it is estimated that over 200,000 Latinos live in the UK. The majority of them in London and Southwark, and they're an important community affected by a wide variety of issues. 85% of Latinos in London are employed and therefore contribute massively to our city. The cleaning sector is familiar to many Latinos who cannot overcome the language barrier. These workers are the unseen, and to a child watching her mother leave at 4 a.m, it's frightening. But my own mother replied to my worries with, "Don't worry, the bus is always packed with people like me at this time." Due to their vulnerability, they are more likely to be exploited and paid below the living wage. A notable incident my mother told me consisted of her having to crawl between the legs of office workers who were unwilling to move out of the way and allow her to empty out the rubbish bins beside their desks. This may be a common story, as the Coalition of Latin Americans in the UK report concluded that 40% of Latin Americans have experienced workplace mistreatment. The combination of exploitation and the lack of representation meant that in 2013, the average Latino wage came in at only £7.7 an hour. Low wages have meant that Latinos are having to apply for more help, such as housing benefits. But when we go to tick a simple box on a form, we face yet another hurdle. We find that no box relates to us. And yet again, we come under other, as if we're being ignored. This is the same for almost all landed forms asking for specific ethnic background information. The housing benefits
family could face homelessness within the year. She stays up at night, anxious about her 7 children and what will happen to them. And her children try not to show it, but they are worried and scared too. Several times a month, Quraish goes to Olive Morris' house to discuss her housing benefit for frontline service staff. She arrives with the weight of 100 unspoken fears on her shoulders, but when she meets with the advisor, she is not treated with kindness or empathy. Her files are incorrectly recorded and there's no apology. She is dismissed without proper explanation. She tries to explain her worries and is told, "This is not my problem." Quraish knows that the advisors she meets are under pressure with lots of priorities, but she leaves the room feeling more confused. And when she goes out the door, she sees a whole queue of people waiting in the same situation as her. Quraish feels frustrated, embarrassed, unimportant. But in fact, Quraish is very important. She is the most important person to me. Quraish is my mother. My name is Ilhan, and I want to see a more efficient, more empathetic, and more equal Lambeth, starting with frontline services at Lambeth Council. I understand that people in frontline services have a really difficult job. They often need to deliver bad news, and they don't have time to engage with everyone's story like my mom's. Lambeth is one of the fastest growing London boroughs, so the problem of limited time and resource is only going to get worse. But research shows empathy is a crucial part of effective service. In 2014, homelessness charity Crisis led a mystery shopper initiative. 16 people who have faced homelessness went into housing offices and noted the difference in treatment and service they received. In 50 out of 87 visits, most of which were in London boroughs, the help they received was described by the report as inadequate or insufficient. In the lowest rated visits, mystery shoppers were met with little empathy and were made to feel like a number rather than a person. But the good news is, a key difference between inadequate and effective service was empathy. Shoppers reported better experiences with frontline staff members when shoppers have reported better experiences when a frontline staff member had taken an interest in their situation, when they were non-judgmental and showed empathy, making the client feel important and valued in their moment of need. I want to bring more empathy into Lambeth service delivery. In fact, I want to help make the borough where I live a heading light for empathetic service that all London boroughs will want to learn from. I want to call a people's consultation on improving frontline services through empathy. I will bring together a planning group to prepare the agenda to help service givers and service users understand each other better and to come up with ways to improve those services. I will ensure a full house for this consultation. I will bring experts from crisis and local hospitals. I will bring local residents with relevant experiences to share. And I will bring Quraish, my mum, so she can share hers. And I will lead on ensuring actions from the consultation are followed through. Ms. Hayes, I ask you to identify one or two people in frontline services to work with me and join the planning group so we can make this a real win-win. I ask you to invite those who work in frontline services, their managers, and those who work in training frontline staff to the consultation. And I ask for you to lend your support in bringing about any changes agreed on from the people's consultation. Ms. Hayes, let's work together on creating this consultation to foster a more efficient, equal and empathetic Lambeth. My mum and I look forward to seeing you there.
The Advocacy Academy, unleashing the power of young Londoners.